How do you recover from any really painful experience that you may encounter? It doesn't matter whether it's going through a divorce, whether it's girlfriend, boyfriend breakup, whether it's you're in college and there was an exam that you really needed to pass and wanted to pass, you didn't do well on it. Those are different levels of disappointment, different levels of failure. But some failures are massive. What I would consider massive means that your ideals, your beliefs, and your values have been violated to the degree that you begin to question who you are because you've lived a certain quality of life based on your ideals, your values, and your beliefs. For example, divorce is not just a massive failure for someone who is an achiever, who takes their commitments seriously. Being a parent, kid grows up, did your absolute best, and now they're engaging in wayward behavior. That's not just something that a parent just is going to bypass. They don't just surrender to that like most people do. Here are the phases of going through something that's extremely painful. I'm only going to cover the first phase, which is the shock phase. And I'm going to include, and you'll be able to see that anything that you're experiencing that's extremely painful, this is the stage that you can compress. But I'm going to show you exactly how to do that. The phases are shock phase, adjustment, and then renewal. Those are the three phases. Now, the shock phase includes any negative or down emotion, anger, guilt, depression, in the case of divorce. If you experience betrayal, if you want to add resentment, bitterness, those are all still in the shock phase. Once you pass through the shock phase, you go through the period of adjustment. The first stage in adjustment is forgiveness. It is absolutely critical. That is your first upstage. Then it's acceptance. You accept what has happened positively, which means you pulled all the lessons you can learn from the experience. And once you've done that, you can let the experience go. Acceptance. Then you have renewal, right? That is in the renewal phase. The renewal phase is also a phase and a stage where you become a new person, because we can't stay the same. We try to stay the same as we were before, but trying to stay the same is what gets us stuck. After you become the new person, the final stage is release. You let everything go and you continue to move on, and you build I call the wall of no return, which means you never go back to where you were before. And then after that, you just have to avoid relapse. Let's get into the shock phase, which is anger, guilt, depression in the case of divorce. Now, there's two ways to compress time. You can literally compress time. If you looked at this as a line, right, you have anger, guilt, depression, forgiveness, acceptance, renewal along the line. That's looking at from the back to the front, which is how we have been taught to do it. Traditional methods of recovery says that time heals all wounds. The problem with that is that that's making recovery and healing synonymous, and they're not. Time does not heal all wounds. That's why you can meet someone and they can be just as angry and bitter today about something that happened 10 years ago as they were when it happened 10 years ago. Why? Time has done nothing for them. Time can be acidic to your great qualities. So time heals all wounds doesn't work. So let's get back into that, the shock phase. That line, anger, guilt, depression, forgiveness, acceptance, renewal. That's your timeline. You can compress time by, in your mind, squeezing it like this. What does that do? All that does is intensify every stage that you go through. It intensifies the anger. It intensifies if you don't get past anger, you're going to do something, hurt people. It intensifies the guilt, intensifies the depression. And the shock phase, we want to talk about the shock phase. How do you do it then? If I took my finger and pointed to the middle of that timeline and pulled it down, you'd have a line that goes like this. You'd have a U. If you look at it top down, I teach a skill called mapping, where instead of looking at things from the back to the front, which is where you are to where you want to be, you have those obstacles that are directly in front of you, just like if you were looking on a line. But if you look from the top down, you can see the beginning and the end at the same time. It's literally like looking at a map. You see where you are, you see where your destination is, you see what the route is, you see any obstacles, detours, you see it all at the same time. So when I pull that line down, it becomes a U. You can see how you can compress the time. How do you do it? Any negative emotion that you experience starts with the only emotion that is sanctioned or approved or commented on in the book of human nature, which is the Bible. Here's what it says. It says, a book of Proverbs says, a word causing pain makes anger to come up. So if you note anything that you experience, whether it's divorce, whether it's someone betrayed you, whether it's a relationship that broke up, a person treated you poorly, the first emotion you experience is anger. Why? Because you were offended, you were hurt by something they said or did. That is justified. Anger has two sides though. We only look at the negative side of anger, and the negative side of anger is acidic. It'll destroy you. But the verse that says a word causing pain makes anger to come up is the anger in the decision. It's protective. It's positive. Once the disgust is there, which prompts it, right? Someone's offended, you get disgusted with it. If you've been around something or experienced something for a long period of time, become angry about it, we make a decision. Once that decision is made, we cross over a line, which is the decision line. And anger, when it's used properly, when used positively, does not allow you to go back. Here's what else positive anger allows you to be able to do. If I pull that line down, you'd have the stages would be anger, guilt, you can actually see you're going to go down. Depression, you seeing you're going to go down. Your ideals, values, beliefs, if you go to that point, you're going to lose them. You're going down. Now you're at the very bottom when you question your identity, your purpose, who you are. The first upstage is forgiveness. Then you have acceptance. So the question is, what's the only emotion that allows you to skip over? It's anger. It's positive anger. Once a decision is made, you can skip over to forgiveness. But it's not forgiveness of the person. Forgiveness is in phase number 2. It's not forgiveness of the person. Who's the forgiveness for? It is forgiveness of the person that you want to forgive, who is the younger version of yourself who put you in a place you didn't want to be. I'll prove it right now. Do you know more now today than you did 3 years ago? Yes. Do you know more now today than you did 5 years ago? Yes. So if you can go back to yourself from 5 years ago and give yourself advice, would you give yourself advice that would help that version of yourself avoid the pain that you're experiencing today? Yes. So the person you want to forgive is the younger version of yourself who didn't know any better, who put you where you are right now, who put you in the suffering that you're experiencing right now. Because usually there's traits, if it's a relationship that's causing the pain, it's traits that were there prior that you gave credit for, that you should not have given credit for, that you paid the price for. Shock phase, anger, guilt, depression. If you do it that way, use positive anger like that and skip over to forgiveness, being willing to forgive the younger version of yourself, the other person who have offended you doesn't deserve forgiveness. See, we have a sense of justice that says you don't forgive somebody unless they are repentant. That's just the way we are on the inside. They have to apologize and show some fruits that they're sorry, they're remorseful. Most people are not going to do that. Especially if you're going through a divorce or somebody betrayed you or a friend, they're not going to do that. But you can stay stuck thinking about the injustice, and all it does is work against you long term. It'll cost you your mental clarity, it'll cost you your emotional balance, it'll cost you your great qualities, it'll cost you money, tens of thousands of dollars. And achievers that's really making things happen, they understand that. If I would have known how much it would have cost me not to get divorced quickly and not to just get it handled, if I knew how much it would cost me to allow anger and resentment and bitterness about I would have never have done it. I'm sharing this with you so you can save yourself from that. But any negative emotion, if you remember it, it's in the shock phase. It slides you down. Shock phase, it'll slide you down. If you don't cross over, you go down to guilt, depression, self-pity, resentment, bitterness. And if you can see that, nobody wants to go down. We want to go across, but not down. Hopefully what I just shared with you, this little tidbit, helps you if you're in a bad space right now. If you know someone who's in a bad space, send it to them and share it with them, because our sense of justice has to be satisfied to forgive someone else. And if you wait for your sense of justice to be satisfied to forgive someone else, it only works against you. It doesn't work against the other person. That's how you compress your recovery time in the shock phase. No matter what the hurtful emotion that you're experiencing, you can shorten that time. You don't have to go through it all. You don't have to get to the point of treating someone else poorly because you're angry and you've been hurt. Because hurt people hurt people. Hopefully I've shared something with you that's impactful. I want to wish you, as always, all the blessings and success you deserve.